Hey, Taylor,
Hey, Jimmy.
what do you call a Sith Lord with joint pain?
I don't know what.
Darthritis.
That's hilarious because I actually already have arthritis.
I
Oh
want to
my
give credit
god.
to at Princess Revness on Instagram. I saw this joke on her feed, and I was like, I've got to use that one. So
That is one of the best ones you've done. Not gonna lie.
Right, let's get into it.
Wanna buy some dead stick?
Jedi.
That's no moon. It's a space station.
Always a pleasure to meet you.
And my allegiance is to the Republic, to democracy!
You failed, Your Highness. I'm a Jedi.
Hello, explorers, and welcome to the only international
You
Star
had
Wars
my call.
podcast covering
Good.
half the world, but only 0.5% of the galaxy. I'm Jack, and as always, thank you for joining us wherever you are in the Star Wars universe.
yes, welcome to Explore the Force, where we cover all things Star Wars.
Whoop,
I'm
whoop.
Jimmy, and as always, welcome back or welcome along if you are new.
Yes, welcome to episode 146. And if you get chance, don't forget to give us a cheeky rating and like, share, subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. Jimmy, how's your week been, bud?
Good. We had this crazy weather for February. It was like almost 80 degrees, which is nuts. And now it's back down in the 40s, which is not really that bad. But 2 weeks away from spring break, so I'm just going to keep on keeping on. What about you, Taylor? How is your this specific day and week for you?
Oh, goodness. Well, the weather's been really, really nice up here. All the animals think that it's spring, so all the peacocks are going nuts, and all the animals are making the animal noises like crazy. But today is my birthday, so
Happy
Yeah.
birthday.
I didn't plan it, I swear.
What did you get? What did you get?
Oh my gosh, I got an apron that it's an apron with the imprint, or I guess the theme is an X-Wing pilot
Yes.
costume, and it has like a button that has like Luke Skywalker saying things on it. And I should have worn it. I should have just put it on. It
You
was
should have
great.
worn it. I just realized that. You should have worn it.
Yeah, and then I got a nice like Boba Fett travel mug, which was really nice too. So
Cool.
Awesome.
Cool.
Awesome. Right.
yeah.
So, Taylor, you're going to shoot off, go bake some cookies with that amazing apron. Whilst that happens, we're going to shoot straight into the main show this week because we've got an absolute treat for your ears, eyes to get amongst. So, let's head over to the main show this week where we're talking about A New Hope.
It's just a simple jump to hyperspace and we're there. What's so tricky about that?
Plenty. Can't plot a direct course to Kessel.
You might wanna buckle up, baby.
When A New Hope was released, the galaxy was infinitely and endlessly vast because, well, we knew almost nothing about it. The Clone Wars were just a throwaway line. The Force was simple. The Empire was evil and the Rebellion was brave. But now, we've had almost 14 years of new films, animated series, prestige television, comics, novels, you name it, stories that have filled in the cracks, deepened the politics, complicated and entangled the heroes together, and in many, many cases, challenged the very mythos of Star Wars. We've seen what the rebellion really cost in Andor and Star Wars Rebels. We've seen Obi-Wan and Vader meet again before the Death Star. We've even seen Luke become a legend and then question the entire thing. So tonight we're asking, when you go back to A New Hope now, what do you see? Is it the same magical fairy tale, or has 14 years of new canon transformed it into something else entirely? Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it indeed. So, first thing I need you guys to do is I want you to think back to your very first memories of A New Hope. For me, it would have been just Star Wars, right? Now I want you to think about the last time you've watched that movie. And that movie is what brought us all together here. I mean, this is why we've got people from the UK, from Canada, America, that we're all together, and everyone listening. And we have people on our live show from New Zealand, Australia, and all these other countries, all because of this movie, right? 1977. So, and now I want you to think about how the last almost 14 years now has changed that most important movie. I mean, it doesn't have to be your favorite, it doesn't have to be in your top 10, but you can't deny that it's probably the most important because it's what started it. Without it, none of us know each other, which is a sad thought. So, does it still work as a standalone movie, or does it feel like a chapter in a much bigger machine now? What do you guys think? Like, do you feel like if you just put in Star Wars, can you watch it and just watch Star Wars, or is everything that we've learned in the 14 years, just make it part of a bigger catalog?
What a question to start the show with. What a question to start the show with. I don't think it's got the power that it used to have now in terms of if you're brand new to Star Wars and you're getting involved and you get shown A New Hope, I don't think you'll quite get the nostalgia feeling that like you mentioned there, you've got a whole blank canvas and a whole galaxy waiting for you. But I think as well, I don't want it to be irrelevant because as we move forward in the Star Wars universe now, we're moving away from the whole Skywalker stuff. And ultimately, A New Hope was about Luke Skywalker, Leia, eventually, etc. I don't think it works as a standalone movie anymore. That's my opinion.
Right, I'm coming in swinging because. Oh, do I disagree? Interesting. So I watched New Hope literally last night. You cannot argue with the fact that that is a classic piece of cinema, irrespective of what came before it, irrespective of what has come after it, especially in terms of Star Wars canon. It remains absolutely iconic from start to finish. Every single bit of it to me is perfect. I think A New Hope is, even with the horrible CGI additions, which I'm sure we'll get to, A New Hope to me is the closest George ever got to realizing his dream of Star Wars. Everything else that he did after that, it was never enough. It was never perfect for him. It was never right. But A New Hope was. And I think it exists as a stand. I feel like you could show somebody A New Hope now and them have no prior knowledge of Star Wars, but still find it engaging, exciting, emotional, powerful, joyous. Granted, I did fall asleep halfway through it, but that's because it's actually like a really cozy film for me. It makes me think of like Christmas with my family and being curled up on the sofa when it's raining outside, and it's that warm, comfy, kind of cozy feeling. And I think A New Hope has that in spades. The Force Awakens got close to replicating it, but A New Hope specifically has that energy. Everything after that goes kind of full throttle into a whole narrative, but I think A New Hope just. And if anything, the last 14 years we've had of Star Wars have done nothing but add to it for me. The context now, having watched 2 seasons of Andor and then watching A New Hope.
Well, yeah, we're gonna get into that, all of that. That's kind of what this, this idea is driven by. I'm gonna give all credit to Taylor for coming up with this topic for this week. And happy birthday to her as well. Does it feel smaller now that the galaxy's expanded so much? Because I'm the only one here that's like alive when it's just Star Wars, and I can grant. I mean, I think they added A New Hope in episode 4 and like 82, or 81 or something like that, right? Around the time Empire, Return of the Jedi, because they wanted to start to, they changed that. I can't remember. I looked that up and now I can't remember, but. And so I wasn't really old enough to know. It's always been A New Hope to me as well. But that movie, I mean, things were a lot, and I hate to say this because it's gonna make me sound so dang old, but things were a lot different in the 1980s, video games and stuff like that. And we spent hours playing Star Wars, and I wonder how it would have changed my childhood had we had all this Rebels and Andor and things like that. So I don't think it feels smaller as a movie, and that's kind of why I want to ask you guys too. Does it feel smaller now that the galaxy's so big? Because we'll get into some of these questions. It's hard for me to ask some of these questions and not like dive into some of the other questions with it. But does it feel like smaller to you guys? Does it feel like a bigger thing? I know you guys talked about it. Maybe it doesn't have a standalone film anymore for you, Jack, and it is obviously for you, Charlie, but does it feel like a bigger movie, a smaller movie? Is it just like the connected tissue that gets us from everything for, the prequels up through it, like including Andor and Rebels and all these things we're going to talk about, and then pushes us out the other side to the Mandoverse that we have now and getting ready for Mando and Grogu and everything that's going to come with the sequels and what's going to come with Starfighter. So is it just like a bridge or is it a bigger part of the galaxy?
So that's a really interesting question, actually. Sorry, Jack, I'm
No,
stealing your thunder for a second. I think Star Wars specifically and A New Hope is the tiny seed from which everything sprouted. And at one point, there was just the seed, and that was amazing in itself. And as the years have gone on, that seed has turned into a little sapling and a bit of a bigger tree. And now it's the tallest redwood tree you've ever seen in your entire life, and it's still growing. And we are really, really, really far away from that tiny little seed now. And I think it does make A New Hope feel smaller. But look what we've gotten because of that. Look how high up in the sky we are now. Not to
yeah,
get all like metaphorical with everybody, but it feels like yes, it's smaller now, but only because we've grown so much in terms of story and universe and characters. And like, don't even get me started on the extended universe. And like, it's huge. So of course it feels smaller now, but I don't think that diminishes its importance or its necessity to Star Wars as a whole.
yeah, 100% agree. But that's my point. Going back to what I was saying about it becoming irrelevant, because we're moving away from, or we have moved away from the Skywalker stuff now. It's done. It's buried with Rey, literally, back where it started. I don't want it to lose that importance as well. It means so much to so many people, this film. We put the comments out there and we've had feedback from Lee Drain, Jamie Richards, Darren Briscoe was on there, Eric Spence, and they all literally echoed the same thing of how much it meant to him. Joe Vesco was on there. So again, thanks for the comments. But yeah, it definitely does feel slightly smaller because there's so many more avenues. And I can guarantee as well, again, sort of moving ahead with the times, it set the precedence for the cinema and movies, TV series, everything, with technology and that going forward. But I think now there's probably, how can I put this? I think if we get a group of Star Wars fans together and we got 100 people from each age range, from let's say 20 to 30, 30 to 40, so on and so forth, 40 to 70, I think you'd probably find you've got more fans of stuff outside of A New Hope than you have inside A New Hope, if that makes sense.
Oh, I think that's fair because that'll be a question we'll start with it or kind of finish with at the end. But see, to me, it makes it feel more important than it was because like everything, like I said, everything comes into it and everything comes out of it. Like it's it's the thing that connects everything together for me. Is it the best movie? And we're going to ask that, like, is this where you would tell someone new to start? I was having a conversation with one of my students and I told them, go to watch Rogue One because I think it's more faster paced than what, so, and it's hard for me to say that, but, and that's kind of what we're going to dive into now is, we have Andor, we have Rogue One, 2 seasons of Andor, Rogue One, we have Star Wars Rebels, just, I name a few things that kind of lead us to, and we even have, like, we're going to get into the Kenobi series and stuff like that next, but has Rogue One changed the way you see just the opening? Like, I don't know about you guys, but when I finished Andor season 2, my wife sitting beside me, who is a Star Wars fan, but not like me, she's like, we need to watch A New Hope. I mean, we went right into it, and it didn't matter that it was like, 8:00 at night and we go to bed usually that late. We said, we were just like, let's watch it. So how has Rogue One Andor changed how you see the Tantive coming in and then the big cruiser flying over and actually melted people's brains in 1977? Has it changed that for you guys? Like,
yeah, and as well, I know obviously we've got Rogue One, Andor, etc., but Rebels changed A New Hope. Excuse me, Rebels changed A New Hope for me massively because obviously we had that massive duel with I say massive duel, that fight with Maul and Obi-Wan, and it heightened the stakes as well because again, people have found out why he's there, etc. But yeah, I think Rogue One hugely changed the experience. It's a lot more streamlined, if that makes sense as well.
Yeah.
But typical Star Wars fashion, I think it left more questions than answers for sure.
Well, for those people who are not watching on YouTube, we are joined now by the birthday girl herself and the
Happy
mastermind
birthday.
behind this whole episode. So,
Oh my goodness.
Taylor, I want to ask you. We've kind of talked about Star Wars being, is it bigger now? Is it smaller? And then we've gotten into Rogue One. How has it changed? So, what is your first, in looking at the questions? Does it still work as a standalone movie for you? And if it hasn't or has, how has Rogue One kind of affected it for you?
Well, A New Hope can always be a standalone movie, right? That's kind of how it was. Nobody knew that there was going to be more movies coming out.
Mhm.
So, and those people that fell in love with it way back in 1977, they thought that was it, right? So, I still think it's a good movie just to throw on. I don't need context or anything. It kind of explains it, kind of, right? But after Andor, yeah, I totally feel like it's changed everything. It's because you see, oh, I'm just getting into this. You see the whole, like, how hard it was to get these plans, right? That
Yeah.
start the whole thing. So, and it's not just a one-liner in a movie anymore. This is the whole movie. You're watching it all of a sudden, like, in your brain, like, oh, like, you know what I mean? Like, all of what we've saw.
That's exactly how my brain goes as well.
Yeah. Oh my god, the flash scene, like they're sitting on the beach. Oh my god, like all of it. So it definitely makes A New Hope mean more to me. Just little things, right? The little, yeah.
What about you, Chuck?
Every time they said the phrase rebellion fighters in A New Hope, I was sat there on the sofa like, like the layers that Rogue One and Andor have provided of context that I didn't even know I needed. I didn't know that I needed to know how we ended up with the Death Star plans in the first place. For
Yeah.
the majority of my Star Wars fandom enjoying, I've not needed to know that piece of information. I've had a great time with just as many Bothans died, blah blah blah. That was enough for me, And then suddenly
Oh, Charlie.
I'm
We're just
waiting for
happy
that
many
one, too.
muffins have died. Forget
Well,
them.
just
yeah.
forget it. It's fine. Leave it.
Brilliant.
We won't speak of it. Suddenly we've got all of this extra context. We are Star Wars fans who hate Star Wars. They exist. I hate that. They don't get how lucky we are to have all of this, context. Like George Lucas isn't involved in Star Wars anymore, but people have gathered it together and carried it on. We didn't get that with Tolkien. Tolkien died, and so did all of his storytelling with it. So we missed out on potentially I won't get into it, but you know what I'm trying to say. Like,
Yeah.
that, and instead we've ended up with 14 years of absolute magic.
Well, that's
love it or hate it.
Yeah, that's kind of what I want to talk to you guys about because, like, it's my generation and older, mostly older because I was one when this movie came out, and that has been a part of my life almost my entire 50 years. And a lot of complaints are that in this original movie, and I'm going off script here a little bit, but I feel like this is a better question. When you see Star Wars before everything else, before Disney Star Wars, Luke Skywalker's this hero, right? Princess Leia is a hero. Han Solo's like, great shot, kid, and that's, I just got goosebumps saying that out loud. And it was those three, and Chewie, even though he didn't get a medal, but does Andor, we see this struggle with Rogue One. We got Jyn Erso now, we got Saw Gerrera, we have Mon Mothma who's been fleshed out, we have all these characters. Does it take away from when you're sitting there watching A New Hope and Luke blasts that Death Star, and then those two are getting medals? Does it take away from that, knowing, even though we've expanded how it goes, has it taken away from you in any way? Like, do you understand what I'm saying? Like, this is some of the complaints, I think, because some of the older generation is, it's like, well, that's not my Luke Skywalker, and it's ruining my Star Wars because we've added to it. I don't feel that way necessarily, but I just kind of
why? This is like, and this is completely off source to a degree, right? This is like World of Warcraft, where it's like the Horde and the Alliance. Okay, so you've got the Alliance, you've got the Empire, The whole thing that started off with this, like A New Hope, was people had their favorite characters: Luke, Han, Chewbacca, etc., etc., etc. We are now at a point, I think, in Star Wars, everyone's got all these different favorite characters, but ultimately, we've still only got these two groups, and it's like a massive combined group effort. So I get what you're saying, but it should be like we've won as the Alliance, not as, you know, oh well, that's not Luke, that's not how we would have won. It doesn't matter how we've won. We've won as the Alliance, or we've won as the Rebels.
It
Maybe
feels, it makes.
no.
Oh,
Go
I'm
ahead.
so sorry, Taylor. After you.
No, I was just gonna say, like maybe it's becoming too real worldly
Yeah,
when we're expanding into this, like the side of the war that you don't see and these
Mm,
battles that people are having. Um, like with Saw Gerrera, he's off on his own weird thing, right? But like, and yeah, it's not. Oh, it's so simple. Like this is my like Ultraman. You know what I mean? Like that's
yeah,
Luke, right? Now it's not just Luke who won the war. It's actually a lot of different people combined that worked really,
yeah.
really hard to win the war.
Mm.
Maybe people don't like that, but
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair. Charlie, what about you?
No, I have to agree with Taylor. I do wonder if there's a point where Star Wars has become less kind of less allegorical and more literal, if that makes sense. Like Andor, fantastic, so unbelievably necessary to expand kind of the depths of the fascism of the empire. And God,
Yeah.
it was vindictive and it was wonderful and it was powerful and passionate and Viva la Revolution and all of that. But you sort of sit back and it loses that kind of like that. There's a nuance in the way Star Wars approaches politics, and especially the way George dealt with everything that was going on when he was writing Star Wars, and particularly the events of Return of the Jedi. I'm sure we'll get to that when we get to that episode. But it was done in a way where it wasn't necessarily obvious, to the point now where there are people who will still argue that Star Wars isn't political and Star Wars isn't this and that, when
what?
it definitely is. Like, it really is, guys. Come on, read our history books. But now it's become too like self-reflecting. We see too much of our own world in this world, and I wonder if some of that magic has been lost. But is that because we've all gotten a bit older? Are we older, wiser, have less of that childhood magic, less of that wonder, that naivety, which A
Yeah.
New Hope plays into so well, because George wrote it for 12-year-old boys to sell toys.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing too, is being, again, I'm going to call my age here a little bit, but people didn't dissect movies the way that we do now. And the common, so I
That's a
mean,
great point.
we sit there and obviously we're not the biggest podcast in the world or whatever, but we do this on a weekly basis. And I feel like I sit there and I just rip movies, and I'm dissecting them and pulling them apart. And I don't feel like when I was a kid that we do that, but I've seen kids in my classrooms like talking about films like we talk about films, like, oh, this narrative, that. And I was like, whoa, like I don't think Luke Skywalker was cool in the 80s, and that's what I thought of. So but then here's the same question, but in a different format. So if it has taken a little bit away from Luke and Leia and Han, right? And I think I kind of feel like we're all kind of like, well, it added to it, but it kind of takes away just from there. But has it added to the Empire? Has it made the Empire worse in your eyes? You know what I mean? Because you have like the same concept where it's taken away from our heroes a little bit, but is it making the bad guy even that much worse when we see the Gorman massacre and we see Scarif and we see Director Krennic and all these things? Has that improved the satisfaction of when the Death Star goes boom at the end? Spoiler alert, at the end of Star Wars.
Spoiler.
Spoilers.
Taylor, I'll start with you since it's your B-Day.
Yeah. Yes, the Empire's way scarier. And I remember seeing Darth Vader for the first time and in A New Hope. And yeah, his presence is scary. Like, he's a big guy. He's bigger than all the stormtroopers. But what's the biggest joke in Star Wars? That the stormtroopers can't hit anything, right? So it's like they're not really that scary. Kind of. You know what I mean? Like, it's that joke, like, oh, they're shooting, like, whatever. And the swinging through with or with Leia and Luke, like, it's great, right? But they're not scary. And then we
Yeah.
see them in these movies or in these TV shows, and even in like Obi-Wan Kenobi, and they're scary. They're scary. You don't want to be caught by the Empire. You know what I mean? Like, it's a whole new layer of, I guess everything gets more in depth as we get more
Hmm.
technology and stuff. So
I
it's
think
got to keep up.
not that you can Not that you can raise the stakes higher than like the very concept of Darth Vader, let alone the actualization of Darth Vader on screen. You can't sort of. I completely lost my point. Ignore me.
No, I get what you're saying. You can't sort of put that into perspective. You know, the fear in that, I don't think, to begin with A New Hope. Because let's not forget, the movie was targeted for kids to begin with, and I think with Andor and the dirty, gritty stuff that we've seen is more targeted towards adults. That's why it is scarier. Like some of the torture scenes and stuff like that. Obviously, I wouldn't let my daughter watch Andor. She's only 10. So yeah, I get what you're going with that, Charlie.
I think there was this push to make it kind of grittier and harder, but I think all of that's necessary because Star Wars has had to grow up as we have grown up. The fact that it's maintained such a diverse profile, like there's all of this stuff for like the kids to watch, and there's the Star Wars Kids YouTube channel, and they've kept up with all of that, and the adult stuff ended up drying out a little bit. And I feel like there was so much that George could have got into, would have gotten into if he had the chance to. 100 other kind of multiverses where that happened, but this is what we have now, and I think those layers are so important now, so important. It makes the Empire terrifying, and as it should be.
All right. Yeah, go ahead, Jack.
I was gonna say as well. I think the Empire got terrifying in Empire Strikes Back as well. So I think they sort of realised that with the missing of the stormtroopers, etc. Because seeing those things come through half those 80s, man, that was pretty daunting. You know, the sound effects as well. That's pretty scary, to be fair.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, because if you think about the times we saw the Empire and we saw stormtroopers in A New Hope, they were, I mean, there wasn't much to it. You know, they're out there combing the desert, they're chasing Han, and that's really it. You know, and we just know that they're bad guys because we're told that they're bad guys. We don't know exactly. I mean, when they blow up Alderaan, we're like, hey, that's not cool. That looks like Vader. You know?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
They also torched the homestead as well. That's probably the scariest thing.
Well, did we see who did that though? Like, right? I mean, we don't actually see that happening. We just see the bodies getting crispied.
There's no proof.
But yeah, we're gonna kind of get into that though, because like when you see that originally, let's just go there. Let's talk about that, Jack. That's a good point because we're going to kind of dive into characters and like some scenes and things like that. So let's talk about Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru. All right. So let's think about, and we can call back, and we got to kind of try to focus this just on, you know, these years of Disney, right, for this conversation, because I know we can kind of go. I mean, there wasn't much of them in the prequels, but seeing Kenobi and seeing Joel Edgerton come back and seeing I can't think of the girl's name because she's not like a super famous actor like he is, but no disrespect, I'm glad she came back. Seeing them now, Charlie, when you know you watched Kenobi series, and so you watched New Hope last night, when you see those bodies just laying there, is it like, holy crap, like there's more to it, like those people really love Luke, like we see them defending him against Reva and, you know, trying to protect this boy. And so did it hit any harder for you, or did it not bother you at all? I mean, you don't care about Bothan, so do you care about Aunt Beru?
Yeah.
Oh, and Aunt Beru.
I hate Bothans. I hate Uncle
And that's
Owen.
Return of the Jedi, by the way. Don't forget. So
I always forget. Star Wars is just one big blur to me. What? Do you want to know what's really, really terrible? And I guess this shows how much of an impact Kenobi had on me. It wasn't what I wanted out of a series in the first place, but I feel like that's a discussion for a whole other episode. I was really, really happy to see the actors return. Loved that. 10 out of 10. Super nice, super cool. It didn't really change my perspective, other than I think because we know what Luke is, what Luke will become, and who he has the potential to be. It makes it incredibly frustrating when any character tries to get in the way of that, especially like a kind of mock parental figure like Uncle Owen specifically. Aunt Beru, not too bothered. Like she sees Luke's need for freedom and she understands, and she's softer about it than Uncle Owen is. But the restriction of Luke in A New Hope via Uncle Owen is annoying and frustrating, because it's like I understand where you're coming from, but you do not see what you're doing, and it is driving me up the wall. And I'm a big supporter of whiny Luke. I love how whiny he is in A New Hope. All he does is whinge and whine, and I think it's so funny. It's so accurate to who he would be, how he ended up where he is. He's actually a little prince. That's where it's coming from. It's coming from the royalty and his mother, and he's a little prince, and he behaves like a brat, and it's so funny.
Yeah.
And if anything, this is terrible of me. I've sort of always supported kind of the the great burning of Baru and Owen, because it was so necessary. It was necessary. It was necessary for his hero's journey.
We are learning a lot today, folks.
You're right.
And it's
Boston.
scary.
You know, I was literally going to back Charlie up to say, like, you know, you mentioned about, you know, seeing these actors coming back. Again, I get your point, but it's not adding to the character. You're saying that because you're a nice person. You want to see these people reprise their roles, and it's like, that's a nice to have. But it doesn't bring anything to the Star Wars universe per se. It perfectly said there, you know, brilliant, the dead. So what? Move on. It's nothing to do with, you know, what.
They're a plot device rather than like.
Yeah.
Obviously, I understand, like in the expanded literature, and I'm sure in the novelizations, there's more, etc., etc., etc. But in the actual films and the pattern of the films and how that TV series fits in, I don't feel like it. That was a very long-winded way of basically saying I don't think it adds that much for me. Sorry.
You don't care about the burnt crispy aunt and uncle. Got it.
No.
Taylor, how about you?
Okay. Well, when we first see them, he comes back and he just looks. He's just like, oh, like,
oh.
He's like, oh,
This
like
isn't
I
good.
can't, like,
Not
I can't even look at that.
Well, you
But
probably
let's just
smelled
say-
bad too. So.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, the smell, the fart acting.
Yeah.
Ugh. Anyways, he's looking at his dead parents. So, but when we first see them, it's like, oh, like think about it, like sweet old Baru, like, oh, are you gonna paint the roof for me now? Like 25 years later, like, oh, like here's your drink your milk, like you know what I mean? Like they're so sweet, and they just got like thrown on the ground and burnt, and that's how you kind of think about it. Like old people, oh, right, it's terrible, like
Yeah.
terrible.
Okay,
But now that we've seen Obi-Wan, Baru's like pulling guns out of the wall, like we're ready. Like it's like whoa, like this is awesome. You know what I mean? They had like a plan. They're like, Luke, go to the first marker. We'll meet you there. Like it's awesome, and it reminded me of like the plan that they had from Rogue One for Jin. Like they know that the Empire will come one day. They have this plan. So what the heck happened? You're right. Like no, you can't go off to school. Stay here. But like earlier, they were in it. They were ready. They were ready for this. So it does. So now that that TV show and series, and yes, I do like that the old actors came back. I like when they try to do that. Right.
I wonder if they went and got the guns, you know, when the sand troopers come.
Yeah, we don't know. Like,
That's a
what if
good
those
point.
two
Yeah.
oldies put up a huge fight? Like, you have no idea. Like,
Be
they
a
could-
good certain point of view, like story.
Yeah.
Like
That's a
when
great
putting up
point,
these
that Tay.
Yeah,
kick-ass
like maybe they
fighters.
took out like 20 stormtroopers and they just dragged off their bodies with them when they left. I don't know. We don't know what happened, but it went from, oh, they just hurt these poor old grandparents to no, they had to have put up a fight. So
Yeah.
anyways, that's my point of view.
Good. This is what I do. I wish we had 3 hours to talk about this episode, but I want you guys to think about these following characters, and you're going to pick one. Okay, and you're going to tell me how you think they've changed. So you've got Obi-Wan and Vader, but you have to remember we're starting from A New Hope. We didn't know about the prequels. You know what I mean? Like you're just looking at what we've gotten from Disney and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Vader, Obi-Wan, Leia, Luke, and Han. Whose story do you feel has changed or hasn't changed? Like for you, when you're looking at these characters, you know, this is the main characters of this first movie. This is what I grew up on. You know, whose journey is the craziest to you? And I kind of like. I mean, obviously, everybody knows my favorite movie is Solo, obviously, and so I'm gonna go with that, and that's a lot to do with him and Chewie, but. I think we kind of got teased with what could have been with Han. Like, I feel like there's 2 more movies that are missing for that character's development because, again, I know someday I'm going to force you guys to do this episode, but Han is not a scoundrel. Han is not a bad guy. We have been misled for almost 50 years. Han, as Kira says, is the good guy.
Yes.
He might get a little bit jaded because of what happens to him, but he's just a guy trying to survive. We've seen no evidence I mean, he shoots Greedo, but that's survival. Like it's either me or him. You know what I mean, I don't feel like he didn't blast him just to blast him. He blasted him because he knew what was about to happen. So I think Han's journey has changed a little bit for me. Seeing him, and I think that opened up my eyes to Han Solo. Like Han's never been like my super favorite character. He's awesome, a lot of mumbo jumbo, and stuff like that. But for me, getting to have Solo from Disney, like I feel like that's added to his character. I know it was not Harrison Ford. Well, no kidding. Harrison Ford's like 80 years old. Can't do that. But I think we lost out on some things. The second and third movie that I think we were supposed to get. But I do think that kind of fleshes some things out, and it shows us that, if you sit there and you think about Star Wars and Empire and Return of the Jedi, which we're going to get to those movies a little bit later, in the upcoming weeks, there's not any evidence of him ever being a bad guy.
No.
Do you know what I mean? So I feel like Solo kind of like opened our eyes to this fact that like, yeah, you're the good guy, Han. So I'm going to pick Han. We'll let the birthday girl go next since you guys can pick whoever. Like you can talk about whichever characters. I'll start with Han.
I'm just going to say the one that seemed the most obvious to me is Leia. Leia's story changed incredibly. Yeah. Leia was just the sister. I'm sorry, Charlie. I'm sorry. But she was just the sister. And now she's probably ended up being the stronger of the Skywalker children because she didn't fall for the dark side. She knew when to step back. She knew she was having visions of the future, all of this stuff. And we didn't get that until Disney. So and apparently she can fly through space with the Force and everything. Like, have you ever seen Luke do that? Like, come on.
That's a fair point.
Maybe Anakin in the Clone Wars somewhere flew through space. I'm sure he did. But yeah, I think Charlie's going to take off from where I left off here. Here we go.
Yes, I'm so glad you said Leia. Yes. Cast your minds back. In A New Hope, she is a princess. Period. That's it. That is her only role, really. Anything other than that we interpret on top of Princess Leia as a character is because of Carrie Fisher. The energy, the attitude, the way she brought those lines to life, those badly written women's lines, because George Lucas, gosh, don't you know how to write them badly. Love that man to death, but he cannot write a woman to save a life, can't write female characters, and I'll die on that hill. I will. Carrie Fisher made that character iconic, and because of what she put in, and then all of a sudden in Empire Strikes Back she blooms like a flower. Suddenly she's a rebel leader, she's a senator, she's a princess, she's filling all of these roles. She's basically like Star Wars Barbie. She's an astronaut, she's anything and everything.
The whole wardrobe.
She's the whole wardrobe, and I love every second of it. And then even more so in Return of the Jedi, and we learn about that maybe she's a Jedi, maybe she's also like Luke, and then you get into the sequels where she's incredibly bad, even more badass than she already was. Excuse my language. Her whole relationship with Han is brilliant and heartbreaking and devastating to watch, and her sadness and heartbreak as a mother when dealing with Ben Solo and Kylo Ren, and her Force powers and her Force training. Like, what a journey. What a journey to be all of that and then still just be such an iconic and beloved part of Star Wars even after she's no longer with us. And it has to be Leia. Hands down, it has to be Leia.
Yeah.
Charlie, before you go, Charlie, did Kenobi's little Leia, even though she's a terrible runner, and that did that help at all with the character, seeing where she's like her start for you? Like, I thought that was pretty powerful, and her moments with Kenobi were pretty awesome. Did that have any effect on the character, do you think? Like, kind of knowing where she gets her start?
Massively so. I think the moments with Kenobi and little Leia are my favorite in that whole TV series. And if I could just watch like a 20-minute cut of those scenes, I absolutely would. Every single time the two of them did anything on screen, I was in absolute pieces. It was the depth, the ability that we have to step back into the timeline of Star Wars, step forward into step them in sideways in the timeline of Star Wars if you really want to, and to add and expand, and just, it's beautiful. It's so, so beautiful, and what a joy to be able to witness and enjoy all of it and celebrate these characters and see them grow and change and develop, yet also remain authentically them. Like, I know people take the mickey out of Leia flying through space. Is that not the most Princess Leia thing you've ever seen in your life? Like, that is so her to me.
That killed me.
See, look at these two.
That killed me.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love her except for that.
Yeah, I'm with you.
But I think if some things had been revealed, I don't know. I don't even want to get into that movie. So we'll move on from that. Jack, which character are you going to?
See, you opened up my eyes massively because I wasn't going to go with this character to begin with, and I've thought about it a bit more since these two have been saying their bits as well, right? And I think the most unsung hero hasn't always got to be a leader. Now, you've all spoken about leaders, Leia, Han, etc. But for me, from a journey point of view, from the very start, it's got to be Chewbacca. He's gone from being enslaved on a planet, to be taken a prisoner. He's then stuck with Han Solo and the rebellion, even when Solo's died, all the way through. And he's just the backbone of what it shows to be a hero. Again, he's not a leader, but he's shown that to be, up there. You've got, he's a hero, loyalty, resilience. He's shown all those qualities. And even at the end of everything, at the Rise of Skywalker, he's still there. He's still putting his life on the line for what he believes in. From the very, very start, where Kashyyyk's getting attacked by the clones, not by the clones, by the clones, but by the droids. From that very point onwards, he's been through thick and thin. He's lost Han, he's lost Leia, didn't get a medal, didn't kick off about it, and he's still there, And let's not forget as well, even in A New Hope, he's still in the Falcon. He's still, I'm sure at some point, Han Solo's turned around to him and gone, "Do you think we should go back and help him out?" So he's got to have some input there.
Yeah.
I'm sure Han didn't just go, "Chewie, we're going to turn around. We're going back and helping out." I'm sure they had some sort of discussion. And again, Chewie's just gone. He's not going to just sit back and go, "I'm just here for the ride, Han. Wherever you want to take me." So
the dog.
Yeah. So for me, like the
dog.
yeah, the journey of Chewbacca, like he really is the unsung hero. Doesn't get enough applause and credit for me. So yeah. All the grief, the loss, everything, his whole planet. And even leaving those Wookiees behind on Solo, the option was there for him to go. And you know what? He stood there and he realized what he was about to be part of and carried on. I don't think he foresaw joining the rebellion at that point. But point being, not all heroes are leaders.
Mm-hmm.
Mic drop.
You make an exceptionally good point. I'm so sorry to disrupt this wonderful conversation. I start my new job tomorrow on the day that we're recording this episode. So I have to go and get an early bedtime because otherwise I'm going to be staying up until like midnight talking about this with you guys, which I would love to do. So everybody have fun. And I'll let everyone know how it goes. Bye. Taylor, happy birthday. I hope you've had a wonderful day and continue to have a lovely day.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
All right. I was one last thought on Kenobi, obviously.
Yeah.
And not so much the series. Like, I think we can all, I don't know how we all feel about the Kenobi series. Like, we weren't together when that was coming out. But I think I can kind of tell how we felt about it. But if you take Rebels and you take the Twin Sons episode and you sit there and you just, and if all you know is that character from old Ben, crazy old Ben or whatever, out in the woods and things that are out in the desert, and then you see him with the stuff that we've gotten, and then you get to see Rebels in the Twin Sons episode and how much he sacrificed. And I don't know if we can, it's hard to separate sometimes, like Clone Wars and things like that as well. But just given that jump and how much he's grown, or how much he sacrificed, I guess, I think that's a big story too, without, diving into the weeds of the stuff that came before Disney. So, yeah. So yeah, I just kind of wanted to, and it's funny that none of us really picked Luke, or Anakin. So I think
that's a subject we don't want to touch.
So,
yeah.
Well, I mean, I feel like it's important, but yeah, I mean,
It's an honorable shout out for sure.
I mean, yeah, and it's just, I think that, I mean, and does that show us that we are getting, Jack, it's kind of like what you said earlier. are we getting away from A New Hope a little bit?
We are. I think we are, and we need to as well for Star Wars to survive. And again, we are. How can I put this? I've got some crazy like analogies, but like we're milking a cow here, and that cow is running dry. It's the best way. Oh, we're squeezing that udder, and there's not much milk coming out left now. Like guys, like that Skywalker stuff is done.
No blue milk coming out.
No blue milk. No blue milk. You know.
Okay.
So yeah, definitely. But like I said at the very start, I don't want. It needs to stay relevant. A New Hope definitely needs to stay relevant. And we're on about all these journeys, and there's still so many other people's journeys that are super impactful, like Vader, for example, as well. But yeah, going back to what you said there, Jimmy, we don't want it to be irrelevant, and I don't think it ever would be. But I don't think it's so much of a standalone movie now that it used to be, for sure.
All right, Taylor, I've got a question for you. So my last character question, unless you guys have something else. Binary Sunset. Luke staring off into the suns. Does that hit harder now, knowing his journey, than it did just in the fact that, you know, we see a lot happen in this movie. We got this farm boy, and I think this movie showed like the hero's journey, and it showed, you know, he gets whisked away from this planet. He's a simple farmer, and now he's blowing up the Death Star in 2 hours. You know, 2 hours later, he's blowing up a Death Star and learning an ancient religion.
2 hours later.
It's pretty hard to add to that, but has Disney Star Wars and the things that we've got, you know, and it's been a rocky road for some fans, you know, like that's not my Luke Skywalker, some people say, and things like that. But for you, has it, you know, we've gotten some stuff from Mando and Grogu, you know, from the Mandalorian and things like that. So where do you stand on Binary Sunset now? Is it more impactful? Is it the same?
You know, you're right. He does have this crazy story, and there is a lot of his life that we don't actually really know about, right? Like he talks to Ahsoka and all that stuff. You're right. We have seen so much more of his life than what we're going to, or what we originally got to see in A New Hope. But I think the one thing that A New Hope did with Luke was it just showed that, you're right, he was just a farm boy, just a nobody farm boy that we didn't really know anything about, and Disney just kind of makes it so that you can be anyone to become anything. like you can come from anywhere to be something so great, like the chosen one's son who actually grows into somebody who saves the galaxy, right?
That's a great point.
And just seeing how much farther his story goes just proves that even more. And when we do add more characters in, or these side stories and stuff like that, it just adds on to that. Like you can be from anywhere. It's what funny. Is that, like that baking show? You can be from anywhere to be able to cook, and it's like the mouse or whatever.
It's funny you say that, because when you say that, it simplifies it down. That why is all this hate for Rey then? Because she's literally just another Luke Skywalker. I mean, I know she ends up being a Palpatine or whatever, but he was a Skywalker. I mean, they're basically identical.
She was nothing.
Yeah, so she comes from nothing. So I don't, you know, and I think we get that. The people who get upset about Rey, I think that explanation might stop some people in their shoes from complaining about the Mary Sue, I guess, of it all. Yeah. So because I mean, I don't think Luke was much better trained when he blew up the Death Star. So that's
right.
A pretty valid
hair,
point,
blue eyes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So,
like.
No, that's a valid point, and it leads me on to a point with The Last Jedi. Like, there's things they got wrong and the things they got right. Point being, you look at the Broom Boy. That's the message that they put out there.
Mhm.
Anyone can have the Force. Yeah. So you hit the nail on the head there. It's a perfect example.
All right, let's get into the Force, because we have to talk about the Force. All right, I want you to think about the Force in A New Hope. Okay. I mean, how much of it do we see, really? We hear
Not a lot.
We know it binds the galaxy, and we see some crazy lightsaber sticks, and we see a monk disappear and all this kind of stuff, and these aren't the droids you're looking for. And now we have Rebels. We have, you know, the training of Ezra. We've got, and I know people are gonna get mad about this, but we have the Acolyte. We have everything that comes with, not just the movies, but the books. You know, we got the High Republic. You can't forget that, because that's the Disney era as well. How has the Force changed? If you look at just Star Wars A New Hope, and then you sit back and you look at it now, and you see Kenobi explaining it to Luke, and now you know all this stuff. You have all these characters. You have your Elzar Mans and your Stellan Gioses and your Avar Chris's and all these things like that. How has the Force changed? Is it more impactful, or is it like does it drive you crazy that they simplified it so much in that movie? And obviously we know that it, like they couldn't just go busting into it. They didn't really have the technology for it. But how does the Force change for you in the last 14 years or so?
I think it's changed more, again, like you mentioned there, with the technology to make it easier to get the message across. I think in certain things it's maybe overused or over relied on. Again, talking about video games where you've got the Star Destroyer being pulled down, etc. I'm trying to think again, the Force with Leia, like floating through space. She's obviously got some sort of Force barrier or whatever it is. So it has definitely changed dramatically. It's got used a lot more, and I think in some aspects it's probably got used less realistically than what it was intended for, maybe.
All right. What about you, Taylor? What do you think? Because I mean, you've read everything in the High Republic and then on. So how has that changed how you see, the simple explanation of Kenobi to Luke? And the Force is strong with this one. We have no idea who Vader is at the time. So
Right. Well, almost when I understand the Force from just in the original trilogy in general, it is more like a religion. Like it's part of this religion. Like it's not this crazy energy power field that we're using in the High Republic books or even the video games and stuff like that. But the way that I've kind of accepted it is that it's almost like people are losing their losing connection with it over time. So if you look back, even just with the Jedi, like the Jedi Order, they have such a stronger connection back in the day. Like they can feel the Force like the ocean, or they can hear it like a song, and they can feel everybody in the room, and they can tell everyone who's in the room just by their presence in the Force and stuff like that. And over time, people are losing that training technique, I guess.
Yeah.
So, and that's kind of how I've accepted it. And Obi-Wan doesn't really show a bunch of it to Luke, like super strong like this when they first meet, because it's almost like it hasn't been practiced for so long. Like they're in the desert in the middle of a planet from nowhere, right? So it's not like they're even anywhere close to somewhere strong in the Force that is either. So that's kind of how I take it.
That's a good point. I like that.
Yeah.
Because obviously with the massive takeover, and we've seen it in Kenobi anyway, don't we, Jimmy, where, he sort of disconnects himself from the Force because he doesn't want to get tracked down. He loses his faith, etc., etc. So I think that's a really good point.
That too, that actually almost fills in a bit of the bridge too, as well, right?
Yeah.
All right. I like it. Taylor, you brought up a good point about this disconnect that we've seen. Has Disney era storytelling strengthened the original film's theme, of that, or has it complicated it for you? Like, does it? Because we have a lot more, like you said, we have a lot more to call from. But how has it changed for you? I guess.
How's it changed?
Ooh,
I don't know. I don't know.
I think it goes back to what I was saying. Yeah. I think Disney have overcomplicated it slightly. That again, I keep mentioning it, but the biggest thing for me in the whole of the Star Wars thing is that Leia thing floating through space. I get why so many people that just is not. And I know Star Wars isn't like realistic, but that's the beauty of Star Wars in A New Hope. There was things happening in that way. He's like, that could happen. That might happen. You got telekinesis in real life. But then when it gets to a point of someone floating through space with no suit on or whatever, that's when it's like difficult to understand.
Well, think of it like this: Disney's a smart business, as we know, and I'm in kind of amusement park business, and you have to give something new. The people get bored of the Force if they didn't continuously add on to it, right? It's like Jurassic Park. People don't want a regular dinosaur anymore. They want something cool and new, so they have to keep adding on to this, or else we'd get bored. I mean, I don't know if we would, but the regular consumer
normies.
audience would get
The
bored if they
normies.
didn't keep growing onto it.
Okay.
So they're just, maybe they're just growing that tree.
That's another good point. But again, you look at the late again, it's sort of off Star Wars, but we look at the latest Jurassic Park film. There's that T-Rex thing with like baby arms, like proper baby arms, and it's like, what the heck is this dinosaur?
The mutant
Like,
dinosaurs.
yeah, exactly. So it's like they've it's a fine. I think it's a fine line of finding new stuff to keep people.
Yeah.
All right.
In the
You might like this one, I guess. So has everything we've talked about, and I know, and folks, we know, again, we'd be here for hours if we dove into every single little piece of this. And if we've missed something that you want us to talk about, let us know, character wise or scene wise or whatever. But one of my final questions to you guys is: has the last 14 years weakened or strengthened A New Hope overall?
Great question. I think it's
it's different than saying like, well, it's because Jack, like you say, well, it's not as relevant anymore, but has it made it a better movie for you? I think those are two different. They could be two different answers.
Yeah, it's definitely added a lot more meat to the bone for sure. Again, Charlie mentioned it. Taylor's mentioned it with Aunt Beru and Uncle Owen. Did they use the blasters they used in Kenobi when they were getting them ready? We know a bit more backstory behind Han Solo and how he came to be in A New Hope. We know a bit more backstory about a lot more backstory about Obi-Wan Kenobi. Vader's upbringing, so to speak, life. So it's definitely added to the story. But I think at the same time, for me, it's sort of taken it away that it could be a standalone movie, if that makes sense.
All right. What about you, Taylor?
I think that the last 14 years have, I don't know if it's weakened it, but it's almost put it in its own little category, if that makes sense. Like it's not such a relevant movie or a new movie anymore that we're judging it like, oh, look at the bad CGI. Like, we all know the CGI and the lines are terrible. But it's almost like, but that's what makes it great. Because we've seen these amazing films that come out, and we've seen the volume and what they can do, and and amazing writers like I don't even want to get into it, but it just makes it so A New Hope is in its own little category. I don't think it's going to be taken as worse or better throughout the years. I think this is the photo we've got. It's crystallized. It's perfect in this little frame. Think that's where it is. And I think that because we've seen how good Star Wars gets from it, it's almost like it's so bad that it's just always going to be good.
Yeah.
About you, Jimmy?
Yeah, I think I'm not one of those fans of my age where I feel like all the new storytelling is taken away from it. It's changed the story for me, but I think it makes it almost more important when you think about the sacrifice of Andor and all those people and those Nemec and everyone, and Vel and all these characters that you just sit there and you think about, and the struggles of Jyn Erso and Galen Erso, and just you have all these characters, Ezra and Sabine and everything that they've done and are doing for Star Wars and stuff like that. I think it adds to it. It's like the culmination of all these other stories. Like I said at the beginning, it's like this point where everything that's the storytelling before it all gets funneled in there. And I can see why people might get mad about, like, you're ruining those heroes, those original heroes. But I don't think you have to look at it that way. I feel like every hero out there has got backstory, has people behind them, that help push them. And there's always like, it's like a football analogy where the quarterback gets all the credit, but it's the other 10 guys on the field that, they're also doing a lot of important stuff out there as well. So I think it's actually enhanced the movie. I do think it's changed it for me, but I think that it's probably made a more powerful film because when he drops those proton torpedoes into the exhaust port, you think of Galen, you think of Jyn, you think of Cassian, and all these people leading up to that. And I just think that just adds more. You think of the Gorman massacre. I don't know how you don't get more emotional when you think about it. So for me, I think it's made it a better movie. It's changed it, but it's made it a better movie. This next question this is the last hard question, I think. I've got one more for you after this. If George Lucas had known where Star Wars was going to be now, right? He's sitting there penning it in, let's just say the early 70s or whatever it was.
Yeah.
and he brings this and he gets it made, do you think he would have made different choices knowing where we stand now? And that's not necessarily to say would he have sold it to Disney, but that can be part of your answer if you want it to be like, no, he wouldn't have sold it, or yes, he would have sold it. Or would he have done something different with Star Wars or Empire or Return of the Jedi? Like, would he done more or less with it? I guess that's a tough question. I think. I mean, that's probably a whole episode in itself. But I'll just have you give me, a quick, concise answer.
I think that's the one question I'd love to ask him. If I was allowed only one question and one question only, that's the one question I'd ask him. Is there anything you'd have done different? I don't think there's anything personally he would have done different. I don't think anything is my short answer.
About you, Taylor?
I was gonna say the opposite. Just with his track record of always wanting to go back and redo things and do it better, I think that, and we all know that he had like major scripts for like crazy films that he never got to do because of the technology was limited back then. Um, but I think if he knew that it was going to be as big as it is now, I think he would have taken even more risks. And I think that he would have put even more effort into it, because towards the end of it, he was almost done with it towards filming the first one, because of all the problems they kept having and how expensive it was. And the costumes weren't coming out right and stuff. And like he even changed people's voices without them even telling the actors and
Yeah.
stuff, like at the last minute. Right. So just given the track history with him, I do think that he would have changed it, because he probably would still be changing the films right now if he still owned it and still could.
It's valid. I think he may have pushed more of his money into it
Yeah.
and done more with, he's always complained about not having enough creatures and things like that and stuff. And I think he probably would have not. I mean, and it's an easy thing to say, like, oh, this is how this is going to turn out. So spend more money, even you'll make more money or whatever. But
Yeah.
so I mean, I'm sure every interview from him, though, like his story changes. You know what I mean? Like you take a look at it through like the 80s and then the 90s and then the 2000s and then 2010 and
Yeah.
20. Like he's changed. And I think any person who's artistic and creative, like you're always trying to like improve things. Like I feel like, but I just,
Yeah, I
knowing
agree.
where he would end, I don't know how he would have started it. I mean, like, how do I start this massive thing? I think would have put more pressure on him. I think like he had a rough time. Historically, we know, like, I mean, he was like getting put in the hospital, all these things, and all the stress from everything.
Yeah.
It probably would have been worse had he known what he was actually
We
making.
might not even gotten it.
Yeah, we may not even made it out of the made it out of filming. So,
Oh gosh.
and this will be my last question, unless you guys have something. But if, like, for me, just this week, and it's kind of ironic because we were talking to him, and I said something in class, and the girl's like, "Who's R2D2?" And I about lost my mind. Now, granted, we're talking about kids who were born in like 2010 or something like that. So, but she's like, "I don't know who R2D2 is." And I'm like, "Wait, what?" And then so where would you tell somebody to start if you wanted them get them into Star Wars now? Because my first reaction was to say, watch Star Wars: A New Hope. But then I thought, well, this movie is kind of slow. Like it might bore kids today because it's not as fast paced as the movies that we have out today. So then I
Yeah.
said, well, actually, why don't you start with Rogue One?
That's the
And
best
so I
one
don't
to
know if
start
that's
with.
is that a knock on Star Wars? Like, where are you guys telling someone brand new, or when your kids get to a point where you want to introduce them into this galaxy, where are you going to start with them? You have these different orders. You've got the machete order, you got chronological, you've got all these, other
Yeah.
ways, episodic that you could do it. How are you introducing them to Star Wars, and is Star Wars: A New Hope the way you're going to do it?
No, I'm not going to start with A New Hope.
Even for adults, or are we talking like your
Um,
kid?
for my kid, she's already read all of like the Goldback books, so she actually knows like the full Star Wars like saga story. But to start actually watching the movies, so she's only 6, so some stuff is scary.
Oh, yeah.
But I think I would actually start with The Force Awakens. And I've thought about this actually before, because it's just the most like in time start. Does that make
Okay.
sense? Like,
Yeah.
it's the most up to date. It's got the most things that are going to catch the eyes of little kids, right? Like the
Yeah.
flying the Millennium Falcon over the sand and through the old destroyers. That's amazing. That's like mind blowing, right? But I don't think it would captivate kids these days watching A New Hope. Oh, everyone glowing, like how many
Yeah.
times how many times did they call Luke? I think they call him like 58 times in the first like 40 minutes of the movie or something like that. And that's just like childhood trauma of my kid yelling, Taylor, come inside. Like, so, but even for an adult, if it was an adult who's never watched any Star Wars, I might want them to start with episode 1. Like,
Hmm.
like right from number 1, because then by the time they get to 4, A New Hope, they're thinking like they see, like they get it, they understand the value a little bit more.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Like, this is the
Yeah.
nostalgic version of it. This is where your last 3 movies that you just started, this is where it came from. And it's like, oh, okay. But if we start with this old one, it's like, oh, I don't want to watch the rest.
All right. Yeah.
I'm just saying that for somebody who's just watching now,
Yeah.
like
No,
me, I
yeah,
can have
no.
that movie playing in the background constantly. I love it.
Yeah. 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 How about you, Jack?
I'd go with what you're saying, mate. I think Rogue One is the one to watch to get people into it.
Yeah, that's good.
And the biggest thing for me is I don't want people to miss out on the biggest, most amazing cinematic scene ever in Empire Strikes Back, where
Big
Luke finds out the obvious.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only reason I would never start beyond A New Hope or before Rogue One.
That's right. There's that too.
You cannot, and you will not, and there will never be another scene in ever that will compare to that. It's the biggest cinematic thing in history. The fact that they kept it secret as well, all that good stuff. So you've got to start from either A New Hope or Rogue One. But if we're trying to get the modern day person or peoples involved now, it's got to be Rogue One because it's up to date. You know, you've got the technology, blah, blah, blah. But it doesn't give anything away for the biggest and most important cinematic part ever.
Yeah.
All right. Very cool. Very cool. Yeah. So, I mean, again, I know we kind of scratched surface. We dove in some places. We didn't dive in other places. But folks, if you're listening or you're watching, let us know. Like, let us know what we missed. Let us know what you think. Where would you start somebody new in Star Wars? You know, how would you start them? Why would you start them there? What character's arc has changed drastically for you, or what scene? Because we could, I mean, you could talk scenes specifically as well too. So, just let us know in the comments. Let us know, you know, DM us, whatever. And this was a pretty fun topic. So, well done, Taylor. This was a great deep dive into this.
It was.
Yeah.
Right. Brilliant. Okay. Happy birthday to yourself, Taylor. And like Jimmy said, if you've got any feedback or you just want to get involved, then let us know. If you have any questions or just want to get your voice heard, then DM us on our socials or send us an email or voice note at exploretheforce@gmail.com. And remember to like this episode, share it with your Star Wars friends and family, and to follow us on our social media platforms. All you have to do is search Explore the Force, all one word. And if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And also check out exploretheforce.com. It's our new website. All the episodes from when we very first started there. Got little blogs on there. Have a little look. And if you want to show your support and spread the word around by image as well as voice, then head over to Redbubble and search Explore the Force, where you can purchase unique merchandise. And a massive thank you to everyone interacting with us on our social media. You keep this podcast amazing.
Yes. One more time. Happy Life Day, Taylor.
Yeah.
And folks, you've been listening or watching Explore the Force. We have spoken. We'll see y'all next week.
Only now, at the end, do you understand?
Close your eyes. Feel it.
I am the Senate.
As wise as Master Yoda. chosen one!